Hey, this is Meredith Elliott Powell, and welcome to Thrive, Turning Uncertainty to Competitive Advantage, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything you need to know to put yourself in the driver's seat and in control when it comes to this uncertain marketplace. I'm super excited because today we have Ford Saeks with us, a business innovator. I mean, Ford is like the go-to person when it comes to business growth, marketing, and sales. And I have about 1,000 questions I want to ask you today. So welcome to the show, Ford.
I'm excited to be here. And for those listening to watching live, use the comments. I'll be watching those. And if you're watching the replay, put the comments below.
Yeah, I really like it when people participate. So we'll be definitely watching the comments and see who pops up here. But for those few people watching us today that don't know you, give us a little bit of background, a little history on Ford Saeks and how you became a business innovator.
So, I'm 59 years old now. I started as an entrepreneur when I was 15. I've had 17 different companies, and along the way, you learn what works and what doesn't. And of course, I've also been a mentee and a mentor of a lot of other great thought leaders. And after having a company where I had, I had 3 companies that went to 7 figures. And when you do that, you see different types of challenges. You have different challenges at under $1 million, at $1 million, and then, over 50 million. And, as it goes up, you have way different challenges. And after doing that, people would come to me, Meredith, and they would say, how did you do this? How did you take a product from a napkin to 4,000 dealers to selling in mass merchants to exporting? And how did you invent and have patents? And so that led to the speaking, training, and consulting about, 30 years ago. So I've been doing this a while. And so that's the shorter answer. I mean, obviously, anybody wants to Google me, you can find out the longer answer. But, I don't believe in, I guess my first tip for everybody watching this live is there's a lot of people right now, especially with the pandemic, that have started their, coaching businesses and things. And, there's some great people, great things out there, but there also is a lot of bad information and just people giving book reports, or they're teaching things that aren't even relevant or topical or timely anymore, that don't even work in today's environment. So my first tip would be, vet the people you're listening to, look at their Google reviews, look at their LinkedIn profile, look at their websites, and decide, and then also be a critical thinker. So I don't want to take it off on too big of a tangent, but today we're here to really share proven in the street things. If you don't agree with us, great, but don't tell us it won't work unless you've tried it.
I love that advice. I think it's so important for you to really take advice from people who have had a track record, and because there's a lot of false advice out there. I want to dive into a couple of things you said. I mean, you got into this industry because people would ask you, there's differences from businesses under $1 million to 2 million and then over. But one thing that COVID did, it sort of flattened the playing field. I mean, everybody all of a sudden was either dealing with too much growth happening way too fast, or their marketplace completely disappearing. As we moved into COVID last year, what were some of the biggest challenges that you saw your clients facing, and or they're still facing as we move into 2021?
Probably the biggest challenge was believing the hype and the hysteria. Now, today on this show, I'm not getting political. We're not talking about COVID. We don't need you to argue with us with, yes, millions of dying, and we know that. But the challenges, I would say the first challenge is mindset, where people just decided to give up or become victims. Mm-hmm. And while real things actually are happening, you still have to work on what you can control. So I think the first challenge was their mindset. I think the second challenge was realizing that money still has to move. People are still going to buy things. And in every challenge, there are enormous silver clouds and silver linings that allow you, silver lining. There are a lot of things that allow you to take, there are a lot of opportunities no matter what is happening. It's just whether or not you're on that channel to go, this is what's happening, and asking better questions. I think in short, before I turn it back over to you, is, I have a saying, I always say, if you're asking the wrong question, the answer doesn't matter. So, and I make mistakes all day long, believe me. For those of you that know me, there's no shortage. But I always try to say, okay, what did I learn? I don't want to live in the mistake. And how do I move forward?
So going with that, what are some of the questions we ought to be asking right now? I mean, if you are out there, I do think mindset's important. And so many people did get did get stuck. I remember talking to a friend of ours, Bill Backrack, and he kept saying, I'm somebody who runs to the sound of the gunfire. And I really picked that up, and I started asking people, do you run to the sound of the gunfire, or do you take a wait and see approach? And a lot of people take a wait and see approach. So if you're looking to get back out there, or even if we're starting, here we are starting 2021, what are the questions we ought to be asking?
Well, I don't believe there's any such thing as a money problem. I think it's a lack of ideas or a lack of initiative. There's plenty of money out there. There's plenty of opportunity out there. And I know that, we might get pushed back. And for the purposes of this live stream event, I'm providing this as educational purposes only. If you love it, give us credit. If you don't, just blame me. Okay. So don't blame Meredith or anything, because we both have a lot of the same clients. So whoever's watching this, just know that, my views and opinions are mine, not necessarily the views of hers. But I would say there's really no such thing as a money problem. There's only an idea problem. When you ask what question should you ask, my first question would be, how do I add more value? Because if you add more value, the money will come. So it's not about how do I make more money? It's how do I add more value? The more value you provide with whatever your products or services, or if you're listening to this because you're an employee or staff member or an executive or an owner or franchise owner, whatever you are, it really comes down to value through your whole chain. I mean, if you're a manager, and you want to become a director, then it's going to be, how do I add more value to become a director? If you're new and you're just a lower level staff person, there's no such thing as job security, only skills security. So, what are you going to do to improve your skills? So the first question would be, how do we add more value? And then, what did you learn today? And what do I need to do differently tomorrow? I think, for years, I think I got it wrong, Meredith, and you and I, we've known each other for 20 years.
Yeah.
And been on the same program at different corporate events and about sales and marketing because we both specialize in that area. And, it's always interesting because the clients think they know what their problem is right before they hire us. And then they don't know what they don't know. And so I would say to everybody, if you're really looking at, thriving during uncertainty, like we're talking about today, just, are you asking the right questions? Are you feeding your mind? Do you have a success library? Are you focused on controlling what you can control, and the things that you can't control, don't invest your time in, because your time is so valuable and it could be used in a different way. So I just would say, just don't listen to the excuses. Not sure there's real obstacles out there. Like I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. And someone says, oh, well, you can do that. Look, I'm an orphan, grew up in the North Minneapolis in the projects with a 9th grade education. And now I run a 7-figure business, which is just I'm not bragging, like big freaking deal. Like there are people who, I mean, just for the record here, that's not that much money anymore. So making over $1 million, it doesn't really mean anything. It does if you're making 30,000, but it doesn't, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Right. So I should say that clearly, sales, not net profit. Right. But there's so much opportunity out there. I think you just need to take personal accountability and responsibility for your own success.
So how do you begin to focus on what you can control? I mean, really, if you've just come off 2020 and it's been a challenging year, how do you kick 2021 off right? And then I would imagine, too, if you want to add more value, you've got to understand how to be relevant with clients today. And what does it take to be relevant in today's marketplace? Because I don't know about you, but what I sold before COVID hit and what I'm really selling now is different.
Oh, absolutely. So the two questions. So the first thing is, where do you start? Well, you first need to start and be a critical thinker and take a real clear look at where you currently are, like a real objective. And if you're not sure, then get into a mastermind with people that will call you on your crap, that will look at it and say, look, you're just being a victim. You need to get over it, or whatever it is. Okay. So you need to know where you are now. You need to have a vision for where you're going to go. And of course, you can Google how to create a vision. Like we're not going to spend this episode on that, but you should have a vision or direction of where you're going to go. If you're just driving around aimlessly and you don't have any gauges in your car and your windshield's painted black and your foot's on the gas pedal, you're going to crash.
Right.
So you need to stop the car and regroup and think about it. The next part of that is to think big. So I want you to have a bigger vision for yourself. If you want to earn X, maybe you should double it, because you need to aim higher than where you think you can go to expand your belief of what's possible. But here's a really critical point. I also want you to think small. And it's really important that you also break it down into a small step, a baby step that you can take and take action. So like on my phone, I actually have this as a doorbell's got open. So someone bring my Ring doorbell. That's not what I'm looking for today. I'll wait till it clears the notice. But on my phone, I don't care. It says think big, think small, take action.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's a reminder, because I've always, when you're in personal development and growth, like we are in a lot of areas, have a big vision, and but you know what? Sometimes that vision is so big that you never start the project because it seems overwhelming. It's like working out, right?
Right.
And I was telling a friend of mine that in the last month, I've probably gained about 10 pounds, and I'm not proud of it because I used to be at the Olympic Training Center. I know how to lose weight, but it got cold. I just slowly. And so I got on the scale and I was like, okay, I'm responsible. I hold the fork. But if I said to myself, okay, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Well, what if that meant that I had to, eat keto and do intermittent fasting and do yoga and do strength training and do cardio? Well, I could overwhelm myself to say, I'll start tomorrow. But if I think small, take a walk 3 times a day. Go ahead and do 5 push-ups. My Alexa's going off, so I'm going to turn it off. Sorry about that. So I'm going to think small to what can I do? So after this live cast, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to do some squats in the office here. I've got a stand-up desk. Squats are not taking a poop, guys. Came out wrong on a live stream, right? But I'm gonna do something to move my body. It's not as much as riding my bike for 2 hours like I normally would do as a cyclist, but it's something. So here's what you can do: think big, think small, take action, and then at the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I accomplish? What did I learn? And what can I do different tomorrow? And if you do those baby steps over time, even over a week, you'll see the trajectory turning into a positive role.
Yeah, I think that's such a good advice. Right here in my desk, I've got I have 3 note cards, and those 3 note cards hold my vision. It's my vision of where my life and my business is going to be 1 year from now. And it's big, but I start every single day by meditating 10 minutes. I always make 2 sales calls first thing in the morning, because if I reach out for business first thing in the morning, I'll reach out for business the rest of the day. I already got started. The other thing is, sometime before 10 o'clock in the morning, I have to have done 30 minutes of exercise. Because if I do 30 minutes in the morning, it's easy for me to do another 30 minutes somewhere in the day. If I let it go by 4 o'clock, I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I don't have an hour to do that. I never find it. And to be able to do things in small pieces, everything is cumulative, right? You make progress.
Yeah. Well, it won't be an hour. I fell into that trap because, when I was a pro cyclist and I was this Olympic caliber speed skater, I went to this Olympic Training Center in 1984 and 87, way before you were born, I know.
No.
But the point is, I was trained that you really work out for 60 to 90 minutes. And so then you start a business and so I had that belief, which was false, that unless I put in 90 minutes or 60, that it really didn't make a difference. And now with there's all those, what's it called? High intent HIIT training, where high intensity interval training, HIIT. Well, I did one for 7 minutes and my heart rate was, 180. I'm like, it works, right? So again, I'm sure there's a lot of fitness people that can watch and give us some insights. But the key is start where you are with what you've got. Take responsibility and take action. Again, what I say in my keynote presentations is, it's not what you know, it's how well you execute. We all know what to do. Like, I should get up in the morning and do that 30 minutes, which I'm going to put in my thing and start doing. I have the time. I own my own company, right?
Right.
I'm the boss. And then the second thing is, I've done block time for sales where I block certain days, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to leaving that block time, but saying, okay, did I reach out? Because, it's like reach out to 5 people 4 days a week every month, or 25, or it depends on what your business model is and what your, for us at our keynote fees, we're not booking 100 keynotes in a month. It's going to be a little different, but for training, coaching, things like that, reaching out and building those relationships is really important.
Yeah, Alan just left a comment here, and he said, networking is really so key, being around the right people. What are your comments and your thoughts on that?
Well, be part of a mastermind group. I think there's 2 parts. There's networking, which is, prospecting and building relationships and contributing to, being a giver and a taker. But I think it's also important to have a mini mastermind or a mastermind group that you can be a part of. And it's not the type of group where you're going to complain or share horror stories necessarily. It's where you can go and bring your big ask or bring your big give idea. So this morning, I was on the $1 Million Speakers group for the National Speakers Association meeting, and it was me and Shep Hyken and Joel and a bunch of friends of mine that are doing successful. But we bring our biggest challenge. So we say, hey, what do you challenge? Well, hey, what's this new Clubhouse thing? What do we do? What are 3 steps? Oh, here's how I'm using it. Hey, I'm using Active Campaign. I'm using Kajabi. What are you doing? And so surrounding yourself, like what Alan's saying, of networking with the right people, but also a mini mastermind. So the key is find critical thinkers that won't just blow smoke in your direction. I want to be careful, G-rated here. That won't blow smoke at you, that will tell you what they think because they're a critical thinker. They sincerely care about helping you. They're not trying to criticize or judge, or egos aren't involved. So usually a group of 6 to 8 will work best. Or if you're a part of an association or an organization, you set it up. Get a Zoom account. Say, hey guys, every Tuesday from 9 to 9:30, let's jump on and keep ourselves on track and motivated. So now more than ever, you can do it with virtual. I think virtual actually almost works better for an environment like that.
Yeah.
But we have a couple rules. Turn your email off. Don't multitask. Leave your camera on and be present. And if you can't commit to that 30 minutes in doing that, don't show up. Because now that's different than if you're association. We're not talking about, but if you're in a mastermind, you need to be present because they're looking for your idea. They're looking for you to say, here's how you should do it, or here's how I would fix that leadership issue, that operational issue, the sales issue, the marketing issue, or the personal issue. People who go through a lot of things personally. So I agree with Alan, and I think that they work, but you have to have the right people around you. Otherwise, it's contaminating you and actually holding you back.
So we had another comment here from Tina, and Tina wanted to know really what is a business innovator, and really what is it? Where do you need to focus on to get visibility and stand out from your competition these days? What's really working in the era of COVID in the virtual environment?
So what I would say is grab your pen and also get your calendar out. So when Meredith repost the live stream, and I'll post it on LinkedIn and everything. I spend more time on LinkedIn and YouTube than I do.
Yep,
like you're not going to find me on Instagram. I'm there, but that's not where I'm hanging out. Okay, guys. So what you really need to do to be visible or stand out is you need to realize that regardless of where you are in your role, whether you work for someone or your own business, is your digital footprint. So I'm just going to lay out a couple quick things that you can put in your notes. Your digital footprint is what shows up when someone Googles you. And there are 5 basic parts. The first one is going to be your website, or if you are a company, then it's your company website. Just depends on what role you have. The second thing is going to be your search engine rankings, what shows up in the search engines when someone Googles you. The third one is review websites. So reviews are like Google reviews. You guys can check out my Google reviews. I have Google reviews for my creative marketing agency, which is Prime Concepts, primeconcepts.com. And then I have my speaking testimonials and Google reviews at profitrichresults.com. Now that's my websites, but if you Google my name, and you'll see them on Google, right? So your digital footprint is your website. I'm not done. Your website, you have your search engine rankings, you have your Google review, then you have your social media. So whatever social media platforms you're on, go take a look at your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your Instagram, your TikTok, your Pinterest, whatever Clubhouse, whatever social media profiles you have. And then finally, it's if you're a member of any association, they all have directories. When was the last time that you went back and you looked at your directory listings? So for example, I'm a member of the International Franchise Association. I'm a member of Entrepreneurs Organization, WIBA, the Wichita Independent Business Association, the National Speakers Association, the Global Speakers Federation. I mean, the list just goes on. Well, all of those locations are where some people might huddle to find you. And it depends. If you're an attorney, obviously you're in an association, or if you're in a community, there might be an association. So look at what you're putting out there. So that's the first step. That's a lot. You got time for 2 seconds more, Meredith?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
So those are the 5 things, but here's the deal. Once you have enhanced those 5, then you have to be a content producer. So let's all clap and put a comment in for Meredith. She's been going live now on a regular basis. Now, when you go live, how many times a week?
I usually go live about twice a week, sometimes 3.
So you have, how long have you been doing that now? 30, not very long.
No, it's been about 2 months, I guess.
Okay. So for the last 2 months, Meredith is going live 2 or 3 times a week. She's planning ahead. She's getting better at it. She's getting great guests and she's getting great content, and she's building her intellectual property, and she's building awareness because now people are finding her. It's the same reason why, we're on here doing this live stream. We're here giving you great information, but we also understand that if you say, wow, we should have him as a guest, or wow, we should have her do some sales training, or we should have Ford come in and look at how we can shorten the sales cycle or increase traffic to our website or whatever it is that you're doing, right? So in today's day and age, if you're not a content producer, if you're not a media, you need to be a media company. And I believe, and again, I'm taking my own advice. These are all things that I need to do and improve too, guys. So everybody out here, I need to improve these same things because I'm just so busy with my agency. I've been going live on everybody else's. I don't even have a podcast because I'm being interviewed 6 times a week on somebody else's podcast. I'm like, you know what? I'm busy just being a guest right now. I don't need to take on the extra work. Now that could be a lack mentality. That could be an excuse. So I want to be careful. I'm not affirming that because I really should do it. I just put other things in the priority. So you, whoever you are, start out by being a guest on other people's podcasts. Get on the Clubhouse, participate in the conversations. Share content. If you see great content like this and you want to share it. Be part of the communication, because remember, if you add value, you will make a profit. And sometimes that value, just like Alan was saying with networking, if you want to network with people, read. So I'll check out Alan. I'm going to go, Alan, if I'm not already connected with you on LinkedIn, I'll jump over to LinkedIn when we're done, or just send me a LinkedIn connection because I don't want to type while I'm talking to the camera here. But just build your intellectual property. And just like what Meredith is doing, if tune into her show, she's always got great value. This weekend, she did a show with Mark Hunter, both friends of mine, and they were talking about mapping the customer journey. And I'm like, oh, I love the customer journey. Let me jump on. And, I wasn't trying to, what do they call it? Photo bomb or whatever your live stream event. But I was like, oh, I've got a couple ideas, No,
I love that. I think that's great. I think honestly, doing this too is one of the greatest ways for me to learn. Another friend of ours was asking me about it, and he said, that seems like a lot of time. And I said, are you kidding? I said, I'm getting the greatest education in the world.
And you and I both have high fees paid for, and we're giving it away now. And I just gave you digital footprint. I talked about mindset. I talked about execution. Like, these are all tips. If you're cued in to pay attention, you first have to write it down, and the second thing you have to do is you have to act on these ideas, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I mean, we can give you these ideas, and I don't want you to say, I was on 5 live stream events today. Okay, that's great, but I'd rather have you be on 2 or 1 where you actually took action. So one of the things that, Meredith, you had those cards of your vision. Years ago, I actually was on a program with Jim Rohn. And for those of you who don't know him, Google him because he's amazing. It was amazing, and a great mentor. And so I was on with Jim Rohn, and Jim was talking. He spoke before me, and I spoke after him. And he was talking about his hour of power. And he said you should do at least 20 minutes of exercise or personal growth and development. So just actually, that's 2 different things. 20 minutes was learning something new. 20 minutes of at least exercise or feeding your body, meditation, resting, whatever. And then 20 minutes taking action. Now, that doesn't mean you do it from 9 to 10, but at the end of the day, you should have at least contributed 20 minutes to your own health, whether you meditate, walk, do something, learn something new, get on a podcast at a break, don't watch the news, come over and get on a live stream event. And then the other thing is take action. So for those of you listening, if you're in sales or you're responsible for revenue generating activities, who are you going to call tomorrow? Today, we're putting this on live on a Thursday. Tomorrow, who are the 2 prospects that you need to call that you've been putting off? Or who's a past client that you want to reach out to? Or like Alan was saying, is there a mastermind partner or somebody that you want to reach out and say, hey, can we jump on Zoom for a mini mastermind? But take action, because it's not what you know. You've got to take action on these ideas.
I'm just amazed at the thing that we all should have learned in grade school that we were never taught is that how much control you really have over your own success. It's incredible. If you can grab a hold of your mindset, you can gather the knowledge and you take action. It's truly amazing how far you can get in life. And I think COVID has been such a really great example of that, because it really has been capturing your own mindset first.
Yeah. And if what's in your success library? If you talk to any successful person, they have a library of success, whether it's audio, videos, live stream events, whatever, or live stream programs or recordings, whatever. And, the book that I'm referring that you just mentioned, or the concept of mindset, Carol Dweck wrote that book called Mindset. And it's a great book. If you haven't read it, if you're stuck in where you are, you might just pick it up and read it. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon. It's called Mindset. It's a best-selling book. But there's some concepts in there. And again, I've always believed in the growth mindset, but I still wanted to get the book because I wanted to understand the nuances behind it.
Yeah.
And it really is, it really is what we're saying is representative of anyone who's successful had to overcome a negative mindset. They had to you're going to have haters. You're going to have people that don't agree with you. You're going to have people that leave you bad reviews. You're going to have people that just don't fall in love with you. And most of them are just jealous because you're taking action that they're not. I mean, if you've got haters, it's usually because you struck a chord with them or they thought I could do better than you. Well, then fine. If you're watching this right now and you say, I should be a guest on Meredith's show, I would just say, I represent the thoughts and the feelings that you have failed to act upon. I'm sure there are tons. I have no confusion that there isn't smarter people that make more money, that have better ideas, but that doesn't mean that my ideas still aren't valuable and good. So if I didn't take action, if I said, well, there's a lot of marketing speakers, there's a lot of sales speakers, there's a lot of franchise speakers, because we work in this space together, there's plenty of work. I've got a directory in the back of my drawer over here. I can pull it up. There's like 2,000 franchise brands.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 356 days in a year. Like how many events can I possibly do? Right. And so there's plenty of opportunity, but you just have to be careful that you're not drinking the wrong Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Kool-Aid. And I don't know who makes Kool-Aid anymore, but I guess I'm not going to get hired by them anymore.
Well, I think you also have to have stamina. Before I got into doing what I do now, years ago, I was a banker. And one of the most interesting things I learned from being a banker is any business, I don't care how successful it is, goes through down times. You hit roadblocks, you hit obstacles, and it's whether you can push through those or not. And I think that's the same for sales professionals, small business owners too. It doesn't have to be years. It can even just be a week where the phone doesn't ring. But do you have the fortitude to still do the actions, to still take the steps, to still move forward, even if you're not getting the responses, even if you're not getting the results? Are you still willing to put the work in and have faith that it's going to come out the other side?
Yeah, and I think it's really being connected to the purpose, like you said, whether it's on a 3x5 card or whatever, a dream board or a prosperity map or a vision board or whatever it is for you, whatever ignites your passion. But if you're not connected to your driving force as to why you're doing what you're doing, then you're probably unhappy. If you're unhappy, it's because of your perspective and focus. And I know, you don't know what's happened to me. Okay, you're right. I don't. But I guarantee you that whatever's happened to you, there are people that have had it 100 times worse than you. So even though when I say, I grew up with no parents as an orphan, and look, I never missed a meal. Okay. It's not like it wasn't like I was starving in a third world place and I didn't have running water or something. So, you and I both have a friend of ours, W. Mitchell, W. Mitchell. Meredith? Okay.
Yeah.
So W. Mitchell is a longtime friend. I first heard of him way before I knew anything about the speed industry. For those of you that don't know him, amazing thinker, W. Mitchell, but he's been through some things. He's been burned over 90% of his body. He was in a plane crash, crashed a motorcycle. Like his story of overcoming is huge. And a few of our friends, we were in a mini mastermind, and I know this is being recorded, but I'm not doing anything disrespectful. But we were talking about there was a speaker who was complaining about the things that he had gone through, but none of them were physical. There were just some mental challenges that he had to go through. But of course, everybody's different. And he was saying how that his adversity story was so amazing that he thought he was just going to be at the top of the speaking industry in like a year or less. And we sat down with him. We said, look, you're not going to out Mitchell. Like you're not going to, unless you cut your arm off, burn yourself. I mean, I don't care what's happened to you. There's somebody who's had it a lot worse. So, if you think you're going to wave that flag because you lost your first business or you got a divorce, like, yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't traumatic or tragic, but you're not going to out Mitchell. So that's kind of our inside thing. Well, you're not going to out Mitchell because, there's obviously someone who's had more trouble. And for those of you that want to know, W. Mitchell's books are brilliant. His videos are brilliant. His mindset, his insights are brilliant. So again, but again, when you first see him, all you see is maybe him in a wheelchair. The second he starts to speak, you don't even see that anymore because he's so brilliant about his ideas.
Yeah, it takes you to another level. When I was a kid, my mother used to always say the fastest way to get past your own problems is to focus on somebody else's. Yeah. And I think that's been one of the most powerful things that has taken me through COVID. It's like immediately where I went. It just wasn't about me anymore. It was focusing on my clients. And the odd thing about that is that you wind up with a return on investment because
you have COVID. Have you had it yet or anything?
I have not had it. Have you?
Well,
have you?
I did in December 5th. I had it. My wife had it. It knocked me out for 3 weeks. I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything, so my case was not that bad. But it was painful, and I'm still recovering. And I think that has a lot to do with. Okay, I'm going to blame it on the weight loss, but I just I didn't have the oxygen for a long time, and I didn't have the same stamina. And I think that the effects of that won't be known for a while. But again, I'm choosing not to let that become a defining moment. It happened. What can I do tomorrow? What am I going to do today? Can I ride my bike? I've got an indoor trainer. I've got an Orange Theory membership. I've got a home gym. I don't have any excuses. And first, I'm married to a fitness professional, a Pilates instructor that has her own studio. So I have no excuses. Like there's nowhere for me to hide. I can't blame anybody else but myself.
No. In fact, we'll have you back on when you've lost the 10 pounds.
That's right. That'll be great. Just let me know, in the rotation, just book me for a couple months. Now I've got a weight loss challenge. That's great. So now I can come back.
That's right. And I would hold you to it. I mean, my friends.
Right. I know. I'm going to have to put it in now because I'll lose the weight and I'm going to ping you. Okay, I'm ready to come back on.
Okay, great. Oh man, it is hard to believe, but we are at the end of the show. Ford, what's your biggest piece of advice for the audience, and how can they get a hold of you, and how can they follow you and find out more about what you do and what you speak about?
Well, obviously, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, just Google my name. It's been on the screen the whole time. The spelling's right there. Connect with me on LinkedIn is a great way. You can find me online by ProfitRichResults.com, which is my business consulting, business growth website. And then Prime Concepts is my creative agency. So reach out to me if you're interested in having a discussion about anything we've talked about today. I'm easy to find. And again, that's the cool thing. So one, you can find me easily online. The second thing would be, if there was one piece of advice, it really comes down to, it's not what you know, it's how well you execute. I think everybody here knows at least 2 or 3 things that have been on your list, your bucket list or whatever that you wanted to do, that for whatever reason, you've put an excuse in front of it. Maybe it's get in a relationship, get out of a relationship. But if you're not happy, if you're not fulfilling your life, how much time do you think you have left? So there's no guarantee. So you might as well live now and take action towards really living your dreams.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining us today for another episode of Thriving in Uncertainty. And I hope you will come back in, we'll give Ford 6-8 weeks and we're going to see him. We're going to see him.
Okay. So I'm going to do 8 weeks. That way I have a little extra time.
And remember, you heard it here. No excuses. So listen, to find out more about me, join me at my website at valuespeaker.com. And we'll be back next week with 2 more episodes you don't want to miss. We're going to wrap this one up, put it in a podcast. We'll have it out there on social media, and you can continue to learn more about everything that you need to do to thrive in an uncertain marketplace. See ya.